What's up, guys? The artist is here, and I am back with a brand new episode of Stories No One Asked For. It's been a while since I have done an episode of Stories No One Asked For, at least since August, since I have done one. But we are here tonight, or I am here tonight, with a brand new episode, or morning, or afternoon, whenever you are listening to this. Um, I am here with a brand new episode, and boy, what a doozy of an episode I chose to come back on too. Because I was just like, you know what, if we're gonna come back, we're gonna come back big here. Just for the last few months, a lot of my stories that I tend to tell on podcast form, I've been running low on them. I've been working on some fictional stories to tell, just like I've done in the past. So keep your eyes peeled on those. Hopefully, those come out eventually. That's why this podcast hasn't been as frequent as it used to be. But with that being said, we are going to talk about that's right, two very interesting stories. One very sad, and one just very horrific, depending on how you break it down. But before we talk about those stories, of course, we got to give a shout out to the great people over at MoviesRUSA.biz, which is a great website where you can head on over and find those hard to find movies or hard to find movies on streaming. Or TV shows, and they will put those on DVD or Blu-ray for you for a great reasonable price. And if that price just isn't reasonable enough for you, you can use my checkout code, that being artist ARTIST at checkout, and save yourself 50. That is right, 50% on your entire purchase, not just one item, your entire purchase. Plus, if that wasn't good enough, free shipping. Name another company that's going to give you free shipping without paying a monthly subscription fee. MoviesRUSA.biz is the only one that's going to do it for you. So head on over to MoviesRUSA.biz. Let them know the artist sent you. Use that checkout code. Save yourself 50%. And let's get into it. So the stories I'm going to tell you tonight are kind of linked in a weird way. One story is about me knowing someone who eventually became a murderer, and me knowing somebody who was murdered. Ironically, the stories aren't linked in a way, but they're just linked that I know, both ends of the spectrum here. So let's start with knowing a murderer. I was living in Durham, North Carolina back in around, when was it? 96, 97? Somewhere in that time frame. And my sister, who I have four sisters. That's something not a lot of people know a lot about me. I have two half sisters, two full blooded sisters. One of my full blooded sisters I don't get along with. I could care less. This sister happened to be living with me at the time, or living with us. It was me, my mom, my two sisters, my full sisters. Um, my mom was going away to St. Louis. She was going to go see my grandmother, and she told all three of us, do not have anybody in this house. If somebody's in this house, she looks at me and she says, you call me. You have grandma's number. Okay, cool, no problem. The first fucking night she's gone, it's New Year's Eve. And my sister has her friend Angela over, And I was like, Mom said no one's supposed to be over. She's like, it's just Angela. And I'm just like, I guess. Plus they ordered pizza and fucking we watched New Year's, and I was just like, okay, I guess it's into that. But I in retrospect, looking at it, it was a test. It was to see if I was gonna say anything because the next day or day after that, that's what it was. No, because it was New Year's, so Sunday, so Monday. That's what it was. It was a Monday. Monday, she has her boyfriend named DJ come over, as well as his friends Carlos and his girlfriend Angie. And I come home into this, and I'm like, what? I come home from school, and I come home into this, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And I told her, I was like, you have 30 minutes before I call mom. And she was just like, no, wait. They're just staying the night, and then they're out of here. And I was just like, just for the night. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, all right. So the night goes on. Nothing out of the ordinary happens. Just them bullshitting and everything, and that's it. The next day comes, they're still there. They haven't left. You know, and I'm like, what is this? I thought they were leaving. Oh no, no, something happened with one of their checks, and tomorrow they're gone. Okay, third day now. I come home from school, and when you come home from school, you kind of want something to eat. You did have lunch at 11 a.m. So you kind of want to eat something. So I opened the freezer, and all of the groceries are restocked. Now my mom is, sending my sister money to, buy groceries for me and my other sister and stuff like that. So I see all the groceries in there, and I'm like, fucking hey, right on, right? I see a bag of pizza rolls. I'm like, fuck yeah, man. So I grabbed a bag of pizza rolls, and my sister's boyfriend's friend, Carlos, was just like, they ain't for you. And I'm like, freezer in my house, food in my house. What else would you think? You would think, hey, it's your food, right? And I didn't say anything to him because one, I don't know this cat that well, and two, I was just like, it's in my house, you know. Like, yeah, I was a kid at the time, but like, still, this is my fucking house. Like, you don't control the fucking house, dude. Who the fuck are you? So I go to open this bag of pizza rolls, and this dude yanks it out of my fucking hand and said, "No, I told you those are ours." And I'm looking like, what the fuck's going on? Did I enter the wrong house? Because the whole freezer and refrigerator is stocked full of fucking food. And I'm just like, what do you mean I can't have any? Like, this is what the money was supposed to be used for, you know? So I said, fuck it. Because, like, I didn't feel like arguing and shit. So I said, fuck this noise, went to my room, you know? So, to fucking make up, to try and, like, fucking keep my mind off of that, I started working on a school project. I started working on a school project. I ain't due for fucking 3 weeks. And like, if anybody knew me in like fucking middle school and shit, I was a very like fucking like I'll do the homework on the bus type of person. Like fucking like, oh, okay, this is simple. I can accomplish that in the morning real quick. Like I was that type of person, but this was like a project that I could not whip up like fucking the morning of. So I was like, all right, I'll actually start working on this. Plus, I want to get over the fucking whole food incident. So I was like, all right. So I'm working on this project. My sister, that I don't get along with, comes in. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, working on schoolwork. She's like, are you that fucking bored? And I was just like, yep. You know? And she tells me, she was like, you can have some of the bagel bites and pizza rolls if you want. I was like, okay. Thinking that was going to be like the fucking worst of it. For the fucking week that these people ended up staying now. Because it's no longer a day. They're here now. So I'm to the point where like that's it. I'm calling mom. Like I'm getting tired of them being here because like on top of all that, I'm trying to go to bed at night and they're playing music as loud as humanly possible. Like fuck Spinal Tap, man. They had this shirt. They had this shit turned up to like fucking 12, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I gotta go to school the next day. And then they're just like, well, why is he upset? I'm like, well, fucking because I gotta go. I can't sleep. You know. So I'm about to call next day. And I go to my sister. I was like, hey, I'm calling mom. So and she was like, hey, what do you want to do tomorrow? And I was like, what the fuck do you. Now, when I say, like, what the fuck and everything, I'm very young at the time. So, like, obviously I'm not saying this. But just know I'm paraphrasing. But I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? What do I want to do? She's like, you want to do something? You want to go to the movies? You want to go bowling or something like that? And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, there was a bowling alley like right up the street from my house, and I really like going there. So I was like, I mean, bowling sounds fun. She's like, tomorrow we're gonna go bowling, and I'm like, all right, but listen, I gotta call mom because like, and she was like, what do you want to do the day after? I was like, what? I mean, like, I do want to go see this movie, and she was like, we'll go to the movies the day after because mom, mom left me one of her checks. We can cash it, and then we're gonna do all that stuff. Okay, see you later. And takes off. Like she would not let me get out talking to her about calling mom. So I was just like, all right, well, at least I get fucking bowling and fucking movie out of this. So I guess this kind of like, works out, you know. The next day comes, my sister has to cash the check. Guess what? The check doesn't work. Like I don't know, it came back bad or something. Like it was a real check, which trust me, this is relevant to the story later. But like it was a real check, but for some reason it was coming back as bad. I don't know. I was a kid, you know. So here's where shit really starts fucking, you know, um, taking a turn here. So I guess in order to make up for the bowling and fucking movie fiasco that did not happen, my sister's boyfriend, her friend Carlos, and the girlfriend Angie, they needed to go drive to Virginia for something. So they're just like, "Do you want to come?" And I was like, "No, I have no interest and at all in coming, like none whatsoever." And they were like, "Well, we were gonna stop at Blockbuster and rent you a video game," and I was like, "I don't care." Like I had a Nintendo 64 at the time, and at the time it was still like brand new, so like the games were like $80 a pop, and everything. They were like $80 a piece and everything. I had like 9 of them because my mom, went all out and shit. So like I didn't really need a game at the time. I had GoldenEye and shit. I was cool. So I was just like, no, I'm good. And they were just like, we're gonna stop at Burger King and get you something to eat. And I was just like, let me get my shoes on, because at that point I was fucking hungry, you know. So we drive 2.5 hours from North Carolina to Virginia, so that my sister's boyfriend and her friends could go to a grocery store. And I couldn't understand, why couldn't we just go to a grocery store where we lived? Like there was plenty of them right here. I don't understand. So for some reason we stopped at one. It was a grocery store called U Crops. They're now owned by Kroger, but they used to be a real big chain in Virginia called U Crops. UKROPS, or two P's, I believe, something like that. Anyway, we go to U Crops, and all of a sudden, whatever they're doing there, they can't do. So we have to go to another U Crops. So we go to another U Crops, and whatever they're trying to accomplish, they have accomplished. You know. So we stop at Burger King. We get me something to eat. Cool. We stop at the Blockbuster, and which they almost tried getting out of. They're just like, all right, we went to Burger King. We're gonna head back now. I was like, whoa, didn't you say we're gonna go to Blockbuster? They were just like, oh, I thought you didn't care. I was like, well, I would, if it's on the docket here. And they're just like, well, what game did you want? I was like, I'd really like to play WCW versus NWO Revenge. I'd really like to play that. Because at the time I had World Tour, and the first game that came out, and Revenge was the second game. And they're like, okay, cool. So they go inside. They come back out and they hand me a game. They're like, they didn't have Revenge, but they had this, and it was WWF Warzone or Attitude, one of the two. I want to say it was Warzone, but I can't recall. I'm pretty sure it was Warzone though. WWF Warzone. And they're like, well, here you go. They didn't have Revenge, but they had this. I was like, cool, awesome, sweet. Um, so we start driving back to fucking Virginia, and everything's fine. Everything's A-okay. It's a little too fucking good. You know what I mean? So about a day goes by, and all of a sudden, DJ, my sister's boyfriend at the time, needs to go to Virginia again, and he doesn't want to go alone. So he wants me to come with. And I'm like, all right, I guess. First stop we make, U Crops. And he runs inside, and he comes back outside. He's like, okay, whew, that was close. And I'm like, all right. Then we stop at a Walmart. And I'm like, all right. So he's like, can you do me a favor? Can you come inside with me? I was like, yeah. He was like, okay, we're going to go to customer service. And what I want you to do, I just want you to look upset. That's all I want you to do is just look upset. I was like, all right. So I go inside and he gives this fucking story to customer service about how he bought this item for me. It doesn't fit. He really wanted it. See, look how upset he looks because he really wanted it. Da da da. I don't have the receipt, but I'd just like the money back. Da da da. And they're like, okay, sure. And they give him the money back. Turns out, whenever they went to U Crops, the grocery store, they were cashing bad checks. They were like, I don't know the process behind it. But like I remember walking to the kitchen in North Carolina one time, and like fucking Carlos was like taping together a check. I had no idea. I'm thinking like the check tore apart and he's taping it together. That's all I thought about. You know, I didn't think of the logistics behind it and shit. I had no idea he was committing check fraud, and I had no fucking idea. You know, and that's what they were doing. They were cashing fake checks at a grocery store to get the cash. And when he brought me into that Walmart, what he did is that he stole whatever fucking item it was. I don't remember. I think it was like a pair of shorts or something. He stole the item and then came back in and returned it as he bought it. So, like, there's a lot of shifty shit going on. And it only gets fucking shiftier because we're driving back to fucking North Carolina. And DJ takes me into this fucking neighborhood that, like, I'm pretty sure fucking heroin dealers would have been like, I don't think we should be here. You know, like, that's how fucking shifty this fucking neighborhood seemed. You know? And then he has the audacity to be like, wait here. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I put the seat down and ducked. Like, that's how fucking, like, sketchy this neighborhood was. And again, I'm very young and I fucking knew this. You know, like I said, there was heroin dealers out there. It's like, I need to get the fuck out of this neighborhood. And this is how this neighborhood looked. You know? So he disappears. He comes back. And again, I think we're sorry. We get the fuck out of the neighborhood. And we stop at a 7-Eleven. So I'm like, all right, cool. We stop at a 7-Eleven. I'm thinking we're stopping for something. A drink or a fucking a bag of chips, a cupcake, something. A Twinkie, something. No. No, he's like, I'm just going to run in real quick. I'm like, okay. So I just sat there. Now I feel safer because I'm at a 7-Eleven. You know? It's not like I'm in the middle of Cracktown. All of a sudden, this man comes out of the fucking 7-Eleven just furious. I mean, like, it was probably one of the... If I ever did, like, a top 10 list of top people I've ever seen fucking mad, this is obviously on there somewhere. Probably in the top 5. But he gets in the car, throws it in reverse, hits the fucking highway that's right there next to 7-Eleven and just floors it. And he's like, motherfucker! Shit! And I'm like, I'm sitting there like, the fuck? Like, what the hell is going on here? You know? And we're going like fucking 80, you know, on the fucking highway. And he's like, shit, motherfucker! Ah! Just screaming. And I'm like, what the fuck? I finally just said, something wrong? And I guess he just took that time to just be real with me. You know? He was just like, they sold me some bad stuff. I'm like, bad stuff? He's just like, the stuff they sold me isn't even a drug. I don't know what it is, but it's not even a drug. And I'm like, did you keep the receipt or something? Like, I don't know what to say in this. Like, fucking, do we go back and ask for the manager or something? Like, I don't know what we do in this situation. Apparently, drive 80 on the fucking highway and scream about it is what we do. You know? Because, like, I've already seen a lot of shifty shit that I should not have seen. You know? So, anyway. That's done now. Okay? And now it just becomes, like, tension. Now, there's tension between them staying there. There's tension between me living there. You know, because this is where I fucking live and shit. So, now this next part has always been a little fuzzy to me. But all I remember is, like, the fucking, I guess, well, not punchline. I guess, like, the main crux of the story. And that was, I remember me and Carlos were in the kitchen. And we were arguing about something. I don't even remember what the fucking argument was about. And he's holding, like, this big mug of fucking tea. Like, he made, like, a big mug. Like, one of those gas station fucking mugs. You know what I mean? Like, he had one of them, and it was filled with iced tea and shit. You know? And apparently I said something to him that he didn't like. I don't even remember what the fuck it was. But his response was to then pull out a fucking knife from the kitchen drawer. Like a steak knife. Not a butter knife, not a butcher knife, but like a steak knife. I mean, like, if you try hard enough, you could have did some damage. But he pulls out a fucking steak knife and he holds it up to me. Like, chest high. You know? And again, I don't remember the exact verbiage that went on here, but I just remember looking at this fucking knife and just like, he's threatening me with a fucking knife. In my own house. You know? So, like, the only thing I could think to do was, like, I took my right hand and I swiped his left hand, which was holding the mug of tea, and that fucking knocked the tea out of his hand and went everywhere and shit. you know? And I was like, how dare you fucking hold a knife to me in my house and shit. And then that's when my sister got wind of what the hell was going on. The one I don't get along with. She was like, what the hell is going on here? And I tell her what's going on. It's like, they didn't even make me clean up the tea. That shows you how fucking big of a deal it was, you know? Because usually, you know, like fucking if I did something, I had to clean the shit up. You know, this time they were just like, just go. You know? Finally, it came to like a fucking boiling point with me. I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't think we were gonna make it through the week. So I finally told my sister that I get along with, the one that lives with me now. I finally just said, I'm calling mom. Like, that's it. I'm calling mom. And she was just like, no, just wait. Mom will be home in a couple days. That's fine. And she was staying in the room with one of the phones. My sister took the other phone and locked it in her room with her. So I had no access to a phone. Yeah, I could have went to a neighbor, but it was like 96. I didn't really, you know, whatever. So during one of the nights where like it was kind of calm, I'm playing 64 in my fucking room. I think I was playing like Cruising World or some shit. Probably Wheel of Fortune, now I think about it. But my sister's like, hey, do you mind if we hook up the Nintendo 64 in my room so we can play a game or two? I was just like, yeah, sure, fine. So I let them play fucking whatever, you know. I forget about it, you know. A couple days go on, they're finally leaving because my mom's gonna come home, you know. So I'm looking around the house and I noticed that the Blockbuster fucking containers that they ran these games from in Virginia are still here. Now I'm not very happy with them at the moment. They've held a knife on me. They have bought food for this fucking house that they had no intention in sharing with us. All this shit. So I'm not very happy with them. You know, so I take the fucking containers from Blockbuster. I go to the car and I throw them in the fucking car. And I walk away. You know? Like, here, you forgot your fucking cases and I left. You know? So that was the last time I fucking saw all three of them. So I get picked up at school. You know, I think I was suspended from the bus. So that's why I'm being picked up from school. My mom's driving because she got home from the airport. My sister's in the fucking front passenger. My other sister's behind her, and I'm behind my mom. And she picks me up. We start driving. And my mom's like, so, how was the week? I was like, fine. And she was just like, anybody come over? I was like, Angela came over on New Year's, but other than that, that's about it. She just looked at my sister and said, I'm going to fucking kill you. You know, because, but then my sister was like, she knows. You know, I was like, oh, does she? You know, so we sung like a fucking canary. You know, like fucking, I told everything. My sister told everything. You know, so I was like, good. Like fucking, I'm not going on the hook for this. So apparently, on top of all that, there was a whole bunch of other shit. Apparently, they stole checks from my mom. They stole jewelry. They stole a camera. Um, all this shit. Apparently, I came home one day and the car was gone, but everybody else was home. And I didn't understand why. Apparently, she sold the car to somebody for like money. You know, I heard it has. Oh, she sold it to crackheads. That's it. That's what it was. Sold it to crackheads or something for money for a couple hours. You know, I was unaware of that until like years later. You know, so her and my mom have it out about like you're gonna pay for this jewelry they stole, you're gonna pay for that camera they stole, da da da, all this shit, right? So we all get home that night. Everything fucking calms down. Everybody's like in their room, they're chill. Everything's fucking relaxed. My mom's in her room, relaxed. My sister's off doing something. My sister's in her room. All of a sudden, she called out. She was just like, "Hey, can I play Mario Kart 64?" And I was just like, yeah, hold on. So I'm looking through my games and I can't find my games. I'm like, where the fuck are my games at? And I was like, oh, that's right. They used the fucking 64. They got it, you know? So I walk in her room and I was just like, hey, idiot, the fucking 64 is in here. The games are with you and everything. And she has like her hands, her head in her hands, and then just looks up at me. And then that's when it all clicked on me. I was like, wait a minute. The games aren't in my room. They're not in here. Motherfucker. You know, like they stole them. You know, and my eyes lit up. And my sister saw that fucking light up and she was like, no, please don't. And I was like, Mom! I was like, they stole all my 64 games. She was like, what? Now, again, they're like 80, $90 a pop in 96, man. Them fuckers aren't cheap, you know? So my mom's fucking livid. She is fucking like, you let them steal? I was like, I didn't let them steal shit. She let them steal. And they're like, that's a fair point, you know? So we eventually had to call the cops. Like, we had to get the cops involved. Um, they never found anything. Anything. They did recover a couple of the games from a local pawn shop, but it was never all of them. I think I ended up getting back like 4 games out of like 9, maybe 10, and it was like none of the good ones. The only one I got back that was good was Ocarina of Time. That's the only one I got back that was like any good. All the rest were like fucking like sports games and shit that I had. I was like quarterback club. Nice, awesome. Um, so here's the PS of the story. I bet you're wondering like, oh, where's the murder come in? Here's the murder. So, long story short, fucking my sister and DJ, they eventually fucking break up and they go their separate ways and all that shit. Come to find out, DJ, who was, a strange fella, to say the least, he broke into a man's house to steal money for allegedly drugs. Um, and upon finding somebody there, he proceeded to stab the man X amount of time, a lot. I forgot the number, but he proceeded to stab the man a lot in the back to steal his money. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that the man was also a quadriplegic in a wheelchair. Yeah, I forgot that part. Yeah, so he ended up breaking into a house, found out he was there, then killed him, quadriplegic, in a fucking wheelchair, stabbed him in the back numerous times. Obviously went to jail for it, and I say unfortunately to this because I think there should have been a bigger punishment, but unfortunately he hung himself in jail shortly after he was in there. So it's just weird knowing that like fucking I know somebody who murdered somebody, and it was weird too because like it was even weirder too because he used to wear this no fear blue sweater that like I really liked. It was like a pullover sweater. So when he left that house that time, he left that sweater. So like I quote unquote inherited that sweater because I really liked it. And I wore it for fucking years, and then it kind of just disintegrated because like the sleeves were fucking coming. It was a whole thing, you know. So like I actually wore the fucking sweatshirt of a fucking murderer for a long time. So so yeah, there you go. That's me knowing a murderer. Now let's get to knowing somebody who was murdered. Oh, excuse me. And that was my dear friend, um, Liz. Um, Liz was somebody that I met on MySpace. You know, we need to bring MySpace back. Can we do that, please? Please and thank you. But anyway, when I first got on MySpace, I set my settings to local. I wanted to see what who's in the area and everything. And Liz's profile came up as her being a wrestling fan, and she went to the rival high school. I went to Eisenhower High School. She went to Scarborough. So like she was like the high school right up the street and shit. So I was like, all right, cool. So I added her on MySpace, and we started chit chatting. We started talking about wrestling and everything. She actually knew her shit about wrestling. That's what really fucking surprised me about her. It wasn't just like some chick who was just like, yeah, I like wrestling. I like that one guy and everything. She actually knew her stuff, and I was really impressed by that. That was something that really fucking impressed me. So, like, we would chit chat back and forth on fucking MySpace every now and then. Eventually, that grew to AOL Instant Messenger. Like, she would hop on AOL Instant Messenger and we would chit chat. Like, to the point where, like, it became like, it's like fucking 1 a.m. in the morning. And she's like, what are you doing up? I was like, writing, watching Doogie Howser. What are you doing? And then we'd start talking about wrestling or like shit that she's up to, everything like how Scarborough is at a good school, shit like that. Um, so like that's how like our relationship kind of started. We were mainly just online, but I did meet her one time. I met her in person one time only. She claimed she was looking for a job. At the time, I was working at Blockbuster Video, and we were looking for people. So I was like, "Hey, why don't you come into Blockbuster for a job? It's a good gig." And she was just like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, come on in one night." And she was like, "Okay, I'll be there at this time." And da da da. So she came in, and I was like, "Liz," and she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, hey, man." So I met her and everything, and she was a real mousy type of chick. Like real like kind of quiet, kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but she wasn't quiet, but like you could tell that she was really kind of like keep to herself. She wasn't gonna make a she wasn't gonna make a fuss about anything. You know what I'm saying? So she comes in, she fills out the application while I'm still like kind of helping some customers and everything, and she gets it done. And like here's a little side story from the fucking murder stuff. Blockbuster, like we knew instantly if fucking you passed the application or not, just by how long you were on the fucking machine over there. And I knew instantly that she didn't fucking pass the application. But I was like, hey, let's go see if you pass and everything. So the paper prints out and everything, and I was like, sorry, you didn't pass. I was like, you can try again in 30 days. And she was like, okay, unfortunately she didn't. Um, but she was just like, I'm gonna buy a bottle of water before I go. I was like, okay, cool. And I bought the bottle of water for her and everything. She was like, really? I was like, yeah, it's cool. Don't worry about it. So anyway, we kept in touch on fucking MySpace, which eventually graduated, I guess, to Facebook and everything. And that's where mainly we kept in touch. And like, it was always wrestling. Like, there was this wrestler that I hated named Kelly Kelly. I could not stand her. And like, she was always writing about fucking Kelly Kelly. And I'm just like, I cannot stand her. And like, it was always good, harmless fun. We'd always like go back and forth with each other about wrestling and everything. Um, and like I essentially, there's a lot of people on my Facebook that like I may not talk to all the time, but like I have seen their lives grow up on Facebook. I have seen so many of my friends' kids grow up on Facebook. It's not even fucking funny. And Liz was no exception. Liz, I saw her from MySpace go to Facebook and then have kids. So like I'm watching her kids grow up on Facebook, and it was just it was astounding and everything. And still every now and then drop in happy birthday, all that shit. And like every now and then I'll post something about wrestling, she'll post something under it and everything. Um, and she was just good to have. And just reading about her job, she worked at a Bed Bath and Beyond. Um, all that stuff. She finally got a good job, and everything. She got a husband, I believe. I believe it was a husband. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Husband or a long-term steady boyfriend, one of the two. Um, but we kept in touch. You know, it was man. I remember scrolling Facebook, and you ever see when like a lot of people are just posting on somebody's wall, and at first you just skip right over it. It's just like, is it their birthday? Fucking whatever, and you skip post it. But like, I was like, this is weird how Liz keeps popping up in the feed all of a sudden. you know, and it's all shit like, I miss you, I can't believe this, da da da. And I'm like, what's going on? So I click on Liz's profile, and that's when I found out she died on April 25th, the day after my birthday. So I was just like, fucking, what do you mean Liz died? Like, what the fuck happened here? Now, the information I'm about to tell you comes from a TV show known as The Killing Fields. You can watch this episode of The Killing Fields called The Body of Whiskey Bay. I believe it's on Discovery Plus. It is not on Max, but you can watch it on Discovery Plus. But this information comes from there, and apparently her body was found in Whiskey Bay in Louisiana. Nobody was around. And we're just like, what? So, and she lived in fucking Katy, Texas. So it's just like, she has family in fucking Louisiana. Why is she dead in Louisiana? So it was like one of those type of things. So they did the normal round of questioning, and they get to the boyfriend, I guess, boyfriend slash husband, whatever. And I believe the quote from the show was, "It wasn't what he said that convicted him; is what he didn't say that convicted him." And finally, they interviewed her children. Her two babies at the time. Um, I think one was like too young to talk or something like that. But like I know one of them was just like they mentioned her dad driving, and then stopped on a bridge somewhere, got something out of the trunk, and then got back in the car and left. And it turns out it was the fucking body. It was Liz. He stopped with the kids in the car, mind you, to fucking dump the body over the bridge. Um, so the last I heard, he was still locked up. And the kids were with the grandmother. But it was sad finding out that she died because like it was so weird, watching her grow up like that. Watching her go from like, high school, MySpace, Facebook, her having her kids and everything, talking wrestling with her to just fucking her gone. It was a very jarring thing. I mean, like, yeah, me and Liz did not talk every day. We weren't like best buddies or anything like that. But like when we talked, we had a good time and everything like that. And I had no ill will against her. I never had one bad word to say about her. I don't think she ever had one bad word to say about fucking anybody. She was a really hippie chick. Really hippie, real laid back type person. I can get that from her. She was really laid back type of person. Like really like right on, man. Like that type of person and shit. But it's a real jarring just knowing that like fucking one day she was here and the next day she wasn't. You know what I mean? And yeah, it wasn't somebody that I saw every day, but like just knowing that I've actually met this person and talked to them and seen her kids grow up and everything like that, or a little bit for a while, because I think obviously I don't see her kids grow up anymore. I think like 4 was like the oldest at the time. Um, but yeah, there you go. You can check out more of Liz's story on Discovery Plus is The Killing Fields, hashtag not sponsored. It's a season 2 episode called The Body of Whiskey Bay. So yeah, if you're interested in checking it out, I highly suggest checking it out here. And so yeah, that's the stories you didn't ask for. Yeah, a little short episode this week. Like I said, I'm running out of long-term stories here, man. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast episode here. Like I said, I am working on more. If you ever come to my live YouTube and everything, we are doing some stuff over there where you can have some more fun and party with me and everything like that. So until next time, guys, I am the artist version. I'm not even the artist version 1 anymore. I'm simply just the artist. And guess what? I'm out.